Well, welcome here, Michaelis. How you
Thank
doing?
Very good, my friend.
Good. We're happy to have you on.
Dude, I'm glad to be a last-minute fill. It's fun.
Jordan just reached out to you and, made it happen. We had a little conversation on the phone, and you have, like, a very interesting and eclectic background, and I think it would be great to, for people to hear about it.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Where are you from?
From LA.
You're from LA, born and raised?
Yeah,
nice.
I'm not an actor. It's really amazing.
I know, right? There's not many of us. I'm from Los Angeles. I'm from Tarzana in the Valley.
Oh, cool.
You're from
Thousand Oaks.
Thousand Oaks, pretty much just right outside LA.
Yeah, totally.
And you're from what, Agora?
Well, no, I grew up in the Valley too.
Okay.
I was raised in Reseda, did the Woodland Hills tour, then went to Agora for high school. So,
nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, dude.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not really.
Not really, not so much.
It's not great.
Not
It was
the way
fun.
we run around.
It was fun with problems, then just problems,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
Yeah,
it was super epic. Yeah, Agora's like one of those like weird places where it's like, I don't know, the police just love to bust little kids like for breaking curfew. It was like that kind of vibe.
There's nothing else for them to do.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
It's still that way.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
It's so wild.
They don't have these, especially in Thousand Oaks too, where it's like really sleepy. These police officers have nothing better to do, And same with the highway patrol officers too. They really
they're
have
gnarly,
nothing
bro.
to do.
I
other
know.
than give tickets.
And we're all just doing drugs out there and having sex with each other.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because what else are you going to do out there?
Yeah, exactly. We're not
They all
gonna
money,
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Nothing.
100%. So you grew up in the Valley. How did you? What was your childhood like? When did you start using drugs and alcohol?
Well, I started drinking when I was like probably around 9 years old.
Okay.
I was like such a sad boy.
Yeah.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Yeah, dude. It was just like I was one of those kids that just felt like I didn't belong on this earth. Like I just didn't understand how like kids related to each other. I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. I used to like beg my God at that time to just like, please remove me, and I was like born like really sick. So I was in and out of the hospitals from like my first 2.5 years, just thinking like I was allergic literally to this life experience.
Okay. Well, you were from like the age of 0 to 2. You were in and out of hospitals.
Yeah, totally.
For what?
I was born deaf, dude. I had like traveling rashes all over my body. Like I was just sick, dude. Couldn't breathe. Like just weird shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not good.
Did those eventually go away, or are you still?
I mean, I'm
can't
still
hear?
alive, dude.
Okay, yeah.
No, they like took the fluid out my ear, which is so funny. I wound up becoming a DJ where like my
Okay.
ears were necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not like Pete Tong or anything like that where I'm like deaf and like putting my foot on like subs. But yeah, I mean, I can hear now. It's pretty epic.
Nice.
But yeah, like 9 was really just about, just shutting off the voices in my head that were telling me I was a piece of shit. Because there weren't like a lot of 9-year-olds who were doing keg parties.
Yeah.
So it wasn't super social.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's when I started. And it was definitely like a solution for me.
Yeah, it was funny. Funny. You know how Facebook? Do you have Facebook?
I do.
Okay.
I don't like to admit it.
It's like it's.
I got rid of MySpace though.
Okay.
Like
MySpace.
I'm moving
just
up in the
shut
world, bro.
down.
Yeah.
MySpace. Everyone got rid of that.
What happened to Tom, dog?
I
Dude,
know.
you know what I mean?
I just saw a TikTok about him.
Tom's
He's doing
living
good.
his best life.
Yeah.
He's a photographer now.
Fuck yeah. I love
he
that.
sold MySpace and made millions of dollars, and he's just living his best life.
Thank God for TikTok just keeping us current,
Yeah,
exactly.
Seriously. Where are you
Exactly.
now?
But anyway, so the reason I keep Facebook is first to lurk on like old high school people that I haven't seen in years.
Dude,
but
creep.
also like so I have this memory from like 2008 or something. It was me posting. It was literally yesterday, because yesterday was Memorial Day in 2008 or something. And that was the first time I ever got drunk.
No way.
I was like 14 years old, and I was off my rocker, and I was just writing a bunch of Facebook statuses.
Holy shit.
What'd you write?
Drunk as fuck. Like, this is my first time drunk. I'm so happy to be around people I love. This is amazing. And then I tagged everybody that I was with. I was like, Kayla, Brian, Lawrence, this person, Frankie. Do you remember Frankie Wolf?
Yeah.
She was there the first time I got hammered.
Cool.
Yeah. I wonder whatever happened to that girl.
So wait, does that mean you have like a Facebook progression of like starting there and then going like into the depths of hell?
Oh, hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
But no. I was still using Facebook when I like got sober, I think. I haven't really posted a status on Facebook.
So you have the
Yeah, I
whole
don't do it.
decline and then the come up.
and then they come up like
On the
a
come
little
up, it
bit.
just stops,
It
though.
just
Yeah.
stops. It just stops.
It's like, oh wait, social media sucks.
People that haven't seen Eric just think he's dead.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
100%.
you get a life and you like get off of social media.
Yeah.
I was really lucky. Like I'm fucking old, dude. I'm 47 years old. So social media did not exist, which truthfully I'm grateful for, because if my life was posted and my using, like it would just not be chill. I'd be canceled.
Dude, yeah.
You know, for sure.
I have a bunch of archive photos on Instagram of me like with 240s taped to my hand.
Dude, I have a photo on Facebook like that. I have like me and 240s taped to my hand. Edward 40 hands, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so good.
Just
I love that.
sitting like I got 2 4 locos, just like I'm all fucked off, dude.
You're
Just
like-
like
You couldn't,
know?
you couldn't untape the 40s from your hand until you drank both of them.
Yeah.
So you couldn't use your hands for anything else
love
other
that.
than to drink them.
That's
that was
right.
fun.
Oh, man.
Good times.
So you're 9 years old and you started drinking and then you just kept doing it, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
Was that your drug of choice? Was it alcohol? Or?
hell no, dude. I like to smoke ice.
Okay.
That was like my
nice.
thing. Yeah. So I didn't start doing meth. Well, me and my mom tried to kill ourselves together when I was like 17.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was a weird experience, which was like strange because we had been fighting. Like my family was just in a lot of,
You guys did it together?
yeah, that was the plan.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, totally. So my whole high school years, like, were a lot of drugs, selling drugs, and my family was like academic in the sense that like pushing me to get good grades, and I was fucking off everything. My parents were fighting, and I was fighting with them, and just a lot of distance in terms of relationship. And it was really actually that moment where I felt closer to my mom than I had for years, which is like really bizarre.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she got like sent off to a psychiatrist, and she was diagnosed with depression. And then like back in the 90s, it was really popular to diagnose people with ADHD and give them Ritalin.
Yeah.
So that's what my diagnosis was.
Yes.
So then I found out I love fucking stimulants.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then
That's how people get hooked to opiates too.
I know,
Yeah.
right? It's weird. And then I think in college, I went to a Cypress Hill 311 concert in Phoenix.
Okay. Nice.
With my ex-girlfriend at the time, and she gave me meth for my first time, and I was like,
and
oh.
meth at a Cypress Hill concert.
I know.
You think
You'd
you
think it'd
smoke
be weed,
weed,
right?
You think you smoke some weed? Hello, my
Totally.
name is Dr. Green
I
Thumb.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
Hello, my name is Dr. Pookie.
Seriously, I know. Yeah, Dr. Glassdick. But yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that was it. And then meth for life for about the next 3 years, which just like led to a bunch of jails and problems.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. How did you and your mom, like, what was that experience? Like, how did you guys try and kill yourselves together?
Well, Thelma and Louise had just come out, so we like had planned this super romantic, fucking weirdly enmeshed, like, idea of like driving off a cliff together, Decker Canyon. Do you remember Decker Canyon? I know you know
Decker
it.
very well.
It's fucking great, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super. So we were gonna like listen to Seal Crazy and like drive off the canyon together. That was kind of like the vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a word for that where it's
Crazy?
a sensation. No, there's like, I remember an English teacher in college teaching me, there's a word that you have where that ideation of driving off the cliff when you're driving through the canyon, but you don't do it. But
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
totally.
I don't know. But
it's like staying at the edge of a building and like wanting to jump and not doing it. Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Yeah, for sure.
Do you think that like she had kind of put that idea in your head, or was it vice versa?
No, I mean, I had been thinking that again since I was like 5.
Yeah.
So when she thought it too, I was like, oh, sick. Someone understands me.
Yeah.
But then she, basically said like, oh, you're my only son. You have to live on. So I hugged her goodbye and went upstairs, and she tried to asphyxiate herself in the garage. And my dad, who was like a career military person, is a very light sleeper. And he woke up and, pulled her out of the fucking car, lots of doors slamming, craziness, yelling. And then like the next morning, silence. Like nothing was talked about. It was really weird.
Was that a regular occurrence where something would happen and then the next day it would just be like...
Yeah, I mean, my family was really big on like wearing masks, so there would be a lot of tension in the house. But then if we like went out to dinner, because my mom didn't cook, so we went out to dinner a lot. Yeah, it was just like pretending like everything was chill all the time. Yeah.
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 You guys know that life?
I know it too well. I mean, that's exactly what my family was like. My family was, shit would pop off at home, and then we wouldn't talk about it, you know? And there'd be huge fights, screaming, yelling, throwing, hitting, all that stuff. And then the next day would happen and no one would talk about it because my family lacks the emotional intelligence and depth to talk about their feelings.
Totally.
They know two feelings. They know sadness, or they know anger, and they know happiness.
Yeah.
That is their emotional spectrum. So they're either on one end. There's no like, let me feel sadness, let me feel grief, let me feel depression, let me feel, stress, anxiety. There's none of that.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's it. And they don't know how to, and they definitely don't know how to talk about their emotions.
Yeah, communication's out the door, right?
Communication is not, and I'm trying to bring that to my family now as an adult, is trying to like communicate about our emotions and how we feel, and like, I guess am I the sensitive one in the family? Because like the other day, it's so funny. The other day I was like talking to my brother about like, oh yeah, me and my ex-girlfriend, we broke up. I'm really heartbroken about it. I'm very sad. And he's like, oh, fuck off. Like, she wasn't even that good anyways. Like, who cares? You're going to find somebody else. But
that's his way of comforting.
I know. And totally. He's like, he doesn't, like, he
at least it wasn't like, feeling what
like,
I do now.
He's like, he's just like, and so I'm like, oh, thanks, Brian. He's like, it was not very comforting at all. I'm like, this is why I don't talk about this stuff with you guys. So you actually made me feel worse. Thanks.
And that's been my experience. My experience was that my family trying to do that, but me being like overly emotional and sensitive, like I would just lash out at all times, no matter where we were. I never like, and this is still kind of the case. Like, I don't care where I am. Like, if I feel some type of way, I'm going to let you know, and I can still like, I don't remember exactly where we are, but I remember being like, maybe like 10 or 11 and being like, just bringing up the fact that like my mom or dad had just like whooped my ass, like at dinner, like at a restaurant, and my mom grabbing me by the shoulder and digging her nails into my shoulder, being like, basically telling me to like shut up, stop talking. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's the deal? And now it's like, I can't, I have to like set that boundary with myself where I know if I bring certain things up, like the conversation, the relationship is going to just die. And to be honest, like since I set that boundary, like the relationship with my dad has gotten better, and my brother, where it's like, I know there's certain things I can't talk about or shouldn't talk about, and it's up to me to like, I shouldn't have to put that on them anyway. Like I have a sponsor, like outside help, whatever, like I have other people I can talk to about stuff. It just kind of sucks where you feel like you can't go to your family because you're afraid of what they're going to say or how they're going to view you, whatever, totally. To me, that's kind of like the thing that sucks more than just not being able to, I
feel so much more comfortable going and talking to my friends and talking to my sponsor and other people close to me than I do talking to my family about any of this stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think because we're like on a similar path though, like striving for the same thing. So like when people are aligned with purpose, it's much easier to like talk to them about that stuff because we're driving towards a direction. But like if a family doesn't have a solution, then what are you going there anyway for?
Yeah.
And their solution is just, you'll get through it.
You'll get through it. Exactly. Like my brother, like, oh, you'll find something better.
Like,
suck it up.
Suck it up. Like, who cares? Like,
totally.
But that's them doing the best they can with what they have, And it's, I have to know that. I have to know that people aren't going to like strive to like get the same relief that I was looking for, that I sought out in drugs and alcohol, that I now have in recovery.
Right.
Like I have to maintain that in my head. Otherwise it's resentment,
Yeah.
But,
so you, what did your drinking, so you used meth at the Cypress Hill concert, and then that was like your I had a ride moment.
Totally.
I have a ride moment.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, how long did you use meth for?
Well,
what did that look like for you?
I did it from like 19 till I got sober when I was 22. And it started off really fun. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed it. And that girlfriend at the time, she had gotten a car accident. So we moved to Venice Beach, California, which is not necessarily conducive to being sober if you don't want to be sober.
Yeah,
or
very
had
true.
no idea about
Back then, at
sobriety.
least.
Back then,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Now it's
Totally.
now it's like tons of treatment centers, tons of sober living. It's
Tourists and treatment centers,
Yeah,
bro.
it's crazy. It's a different world than it used to be. But she got in a car accident, broke her leg, and I was like in such a selfish space. I was like, no, go fucking heal your parents' house in Hawaii. And in that period of time, I met these dudes across the street, and they were like deeply involved in the rave scene, like the original Burning Man people, like Moon Tribe, all that stuff. And like, you know, it was a lot of fun. I got like my first family. We were all doing drugs, like every single designer drug. And we would go to clubs every single night and just have fun, dude. And then like slowly but surely, you know, we stopped going out, started turning into trap houses, like smoking ice every day, hanging out with people with guns, going to pick up shit from people with like bulletproof garage doors and like TV screens with like cameras outside, you know, people like, it just got really wild and really dark, you know, like going to shooting galleries where people are like HIV positive and sharing needles. Like it got really dark. And, you know, over the course of like those 3 years, I got arrested 3 different times. The first time was for aggravated assault and residential burglary. Then I got arrested for possession for sales. And then finally I got arrested for manufacturing methamphetamine. And they were looking at putting me in prison for 25 years to life. And I...
Were you Were you
cooking?
Were you cooking?
Well,
were you Heisenberg?
I was the batch tester.
Okay.
Yeah. Which I think is kind of the best job. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's see how this is. Right.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
It's just like free meth, you know?
Yeah.
But I was like hanging out with this dude from the Chinese Triad Mafia, and like they were manufacturing meth and, you know, basically like laundering the money through a textile company in China. It was like a whole fucking thing. And yeah, we all got arrested actually. And it was that time that...
And you were cooking the meth out here? Or they were cooking it out here?
Yeah, so there was like a Winnebago, like fucking
Oh, it was like
PCH.
Oh,
like
it was like
it
actually
was.
like a... Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
and then we were like, I guess, smuggling the ephedra L from Mexico.
Yeah.
And so when I got arrested, I got arrested with like 700,000 pills of ephedra L.
Okay.
Yeah, so
And that's what you need to... That's like the...
it's
what
better
you
than
need.
Sudafed.
It's better than Sudafed.
Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
like the next level shit.
Yeah, when you need the good drugs, you go down to Mexico.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was in Mexico in October, and
You got a bunch of testosterone.
Oh, really?
I
just come back.
did not. I did not.
Anabar tests, like all
I did
this
not.
stuff.
I did not get any test. I'm all natural, guys. Okay, I am. I want to put that out there.
Okay.
But they did
Yeah,
sell
okay.
like crazy amounts of like Anavar and test and all these steroids, and then also like Xanax.
How do you know that?
Because I went inside. I went inside and looked, and I was just like, all of this. Like, if I wasn't sober, then I would have been like a kid in a candy shop, because you could get Xanax there without a prescription. You
Totally.
get a ton of shit there without a prescription. You know.
Yeah, it's the same. When I was living in Bali, like every corner that you're at, like people are offering you Cialis and,
Oh, nice.
and Xanax.
Nice.
That's the combo.
Yeah.
Cialis and Xanax.
Is there
like what?
Is there a lot of need for Cialis down there?
I mean, I don't know, dude. It's like you're nodding out, but your dick is hard. Like, I don't understand the.
Yeah.
Can we say that on TikTok? I don't
Yeah,
know,
that's
but
fine. I mean,
whatever. It's
Probably
all
not.
right.
Whatever.
Probably not.
It's all right. Yeah. So yeah, it's wild, but yeah, I was introduced to the 12 Steps. This dude who like had a office across from my lawyer's office. I don't know if you guys heard of Bob Timmons. He's not around anymore. He was like one of the original sober companions.
Is that Timmons of Long Beach?
That I do not know.
Timmons of Long Beach.
Probably
Oh, we
not.
have a song and
You
everything.
ever heard that? It was like, I think
No,
it's a
dog.
car dealership. But
Definitely not that dude.
Okay, so Bob Timmons.
Yeah, he used to like be a sober companion for all these different bands, like big
Okay.
bands and like actors go on set all over the world type shit. And this was back in the 90s and probably prior too. And he had an office across from my lawyer's office, and he happened to be there when my parents were visiting the lawyer. He happened to like overhear the conversation. He happened to go make a decision to go and like visit and see if he could help. He came to visit me in Men's County Jail where I was waiting sentencing. And he also got my judge's son sober 2 years prior.
Okay.
So he talked my judge into reducing my sentence from 25 years to life to 6 months in treatment in jail. where I was introduced to the 12 steps.
Nice.
And then a core commitment to Liberty House, which was like a really highly crazy structured sober living back in the day.
Yeah.
You guys heard of that, Smith?
Oh yeah. It's still.
It's done, dog.
Is it?
Yeah, I
done.
moved to Kentucky and then it moved into the ether.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Interesting. But there's a bunch of, not a bunch, but there's a few houses that stemmed from that, like Ethos,
Sort of.
Last house, probably.
Last House, I think.
like,
Yeah,
very
kind
super-
of.
But it was still around when I got sober.
Okay.
Like
Awakenings
20
is kind of like that
11.
vibe. a
Oh
little bit.
yeah. Awakenings. They're
But
right
also
around the
the-
corner from here, actually.
totally.
But they're cool because they're a nonprofit.
I know. I love that.
So, and I love like the fact that they don't depend on like clients to bring in money. They like just get funding from people, donors, and then they could run the house however they want. And if you're not there to fucking get down,
See you.
then get out.
Yeah, it's all good. We
back
don't
to
need
the
you.
streets.
Totally.
And that's an amazing model,
Yeah, they're not there to pander.
Yeah, I love that
exactly.
too.
They're not trying to pander to anybody. They're not like here to, coddle anybody. They're just hardcore.
Yeah, it's great. I love that spot. So,
Okay, cool.
What was
So-
your experience at Liberty House like?
well, what's funny is that when it was pitched to me by my family, they're like, "Oh, well, it's just gonna be like a frat house with sober people in it." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I remember, the manager came and picked me up from jail, and he like seemed friendly. And I sat down in dinner and like had met like some of the guys, whatever, and they all seemed like really chill and whatever. And then the director came in who I hadn't met yet, and he just starts fucking yelling at people and calling them a cocksucker and like, sit down and shut the fuck up and listen. You don't know shit and blah, blah, blah. And if I wanted what you had, I'd go out and smoke crack and come back and ask you to sponsor me type shit. And I was just like, where the fuck am I, dude? Like, what is this place? How am I going to get here through a year? Like my whole core commitment there, I was just, I don't know. I think I was shocked. But it wound up being really good because I was like one of those kind of drug addicts that didn't know how to like wash a dish, clean a bathroom, like a super failure to launch type kid. So it was beneficial for me. And then I just learned, how to like be confrontational, which I just didn't know, and how to be like honest about feelings and stuff. But I think those places are cool. But in terms of sobriety itself, I think it has an expiration date. Because there's a lot of like, house dependence component where like the house is your higher power. The
And when
guys
you
are,
leave, it's like,
Totally.
now what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and they also, they have like graduates that like come back and stay involved. But also at the same time, if like you do something, and you might be like 5 or 6 years sober and a graduate, but like if you do something that's like out of integrity, you get grouped like a guy in the house or you get banned. And then it's like the rug is pulled out from under you, So it's really sort of this cult vibe, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
I'm not about that shit.
No.
Yeah.
No.
For sure.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's how it is at some of these sober livings. It's just like, it's either
You won't
you're-
stay sober anywhere else.
Yeah, it's
Like,
exactly.
if you don't do it our way, it's like, we don't want you.
Exactly.
I can't.
Which is
Yeah.
like compliance and fear is really what it's like run
Yeah.
by, and I just don't think that that's what, I definitely don't think that's what the 12 steps about. I don't think that's what life's about.
No, of course not.
When did you, have you always felt that way?
Which that I didn't
Like how you feel right now about it?
No.
Like how long after your stay were you kind of like, I don't know.
Well, I think when I like was 9.5 years sober and some dude actually taught me what the program was and what it wasn't, that changed everything for me. Because even like the version of the program that I hear in the fellowship today is like bullshit.
Yeah.
It's not really what it is. And certainly the stuff that I got in sober living isn't it, which, the sober living is sober living. It's not the program, So I think it took some time, but I mean, I had to like, I worked the steps like so many different times with so many different sponsors. I was like one of those people who was like always seeking every 2 years, get a new sponsor, do another deeper round of steps, do a deeper inventory. Cause I thought that shit was going to actually save me and heal me because, I was still not stoked in sobriety. I tried to kill myself at 5.5 years sober. I tried to kill myself again at 6.5 years sober. I actually checked myself back into Liberty House at 6.5 years sober. Like that's how desperate I was. And, yeah, it was kind of like I was around 9.5 years sober, and at the time I was like DJing a bunch of clubs, and I asked this dude to sponsor me, not because I really wanted to do it again, because I really was sold on the idea that 12 steps don't work, but he was like a big A&R guy in the music industry, and I was like, oh, well, at least like he's gonna help my fucking career. And which is honest, you know. And he's like, nah, dude, I actually can't take on any other people right now. My sponsor says I've got too many people. I'm like, chill. He's like, but I got this guy who knows his shit. So I was like, cool. And what's interesting is that the dude that I asked to sponsor me, he fucking died 4 months later of an overdose. Yeah, he didn't actually have the time that he said he did. But he introduced me to this dude. The dude like started taking me through the big book, and it just changed my entire everything. And what was different really was about, so he had me come like on a Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. and we'd like work for an hour and just do whatever we could. And I remember my first session with him, I'm like, okay, cool. What do I do now? Do I need to do some writing? Do I need to whatever? He's like, no, you just need to pass that on. And I was like, what? We just did a page. You want me to pass it on? To who? I don't even understand this process yet. He's like, just pass that page on. I was like, okay. And meanwhile, this was not easy for me. My behavior in the rooms was fucking trash. No one wanted what I had. I was the dude who tried to kill himself twice, and the guy who fucking like checked himself back into sober living. Like, it was challenging, but I proactively looked for people to work with. And then it was just about going back to this dude and getting more pages to go back to those people and just keep collecting people and passing pages as I got them. You know, and I've been doing that for the last like 15 years of my sobriety. And it's changed my entire like perspective on what it means to work the steps, what the program is, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
That's sick.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to like have a
It was the clown bell.
No, that's that's something interesting to do, because you had time, you had been through the work, so it wasn't like you were a newcomer per se with no idea of how the steps work, and it was just like he was just like, go be of service type of thing, which I think is really cool, you know, because I don't think people like really consider like how much of an impact that will have on your recovery, you know, like, oh, I have to sponsor. It's like, well, not necessarily, you know, like you don't have to, right? But just like reading with someone, taking someone through the book, like whatever, you know, like you don't have to like be sponsoring them to do that, you know. It's just like you're reading the book with another alcoholic, like maybe giving some insight, you know, like, and I think that kind of stuff is like so special. And I think it also gets misconstrued with like, oh, sponsors do that, you have to be a sponsor to do that, you know. And there's nothing
use
wrong.
the word sponsor anymore.
Yeah
I don't. Because the thing is that like the sponsor, like the original idea of a sponsor was like those are the people who like spent a couple of weeks like vetting you to see whether or not you thought you were an alcoholic, to see whether or not you were like really done, and to see whether or not you were fucking willing to do this shit, right? And if you were like cool with that, then they would sponsor you into an AA meeting because that shit was really anonymous. So the sponsor original role was more like the interventionist, right? That's what a sponsor was. They weren't even necessarily people who took you through the work, right? So because of like the culture today, I mean, that role is pretty obsolete, you know, because treatment centers, court systems, sober living. Yeah, dude, look, those are sponsoring people. And also AA is fucking public, right?
Yeah.
So you don't really need to do that. So I just look at this work that I do as work in the program. And because so many people aren't actually taking people through the book, it like opens up such a wide pool of people I could work with. And when people like used to say, oh, I don't want to do that, like I already have a sponsor, be like, I'm not trying to sponsor you, let's just read the book. Yeah. They'd be like, okay. And what I found is, and this is like controversial in the rooms and maybe even here, but like I don't even think you can work any steps unless you're working with others. Yeah. And when Bill wrote the 12 and 12 and he like gave that bullshit fucking thing in the 12 step about, oh, you're of service when you're fucking making cookies at a meeting. You're just of service by being at a meeting. Like, that's like the worst fucking message ever.
I think that's for a specific type of person though. I think that's for the newcomer, and I think that's for people that think they don't have anything to offer. Right. I don't think that's for people with time that knows like what you're really supposed to be doing.
But if that's true, then none of us would be sitting here. Because think about it. Like, Abby had 60 fucking days when he talked to Bill. No steps, no book, nothing. Bill, for his first 6 months, starting day one, started working with people. And what he realized is that, well, first of all, it wasn't a sponsor or meetings or a book or anything. that was keeping him sober. It says he suddenly realized in order to save himself, he needed to carry the message of an alcoholic, which is how he even met Bob.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I think also the messaging from the older timers or whatever in the fellowship where they're saying like, if you're new, you've got nothing fucking to offer anybody. You need to do this work before you do. Like you're disempowering people. When the truth is that if you can fucking read, you're good, bro. You know what I mean? Because all I'm really doing is passing on underlines and highlights. I'm not trying to carry my message.
Right.
A newcomer shouldn't be trying to carry their message. But if you're carrying the message,
The
like how can you
message,
fuck anybody up?
Yeah.
You know? And you get outside of self and you get the benefits of like treating mind, body, and spirit and actually having the experience with the application of the steps versus like 12 months of fucking conceptualizing what that step means to you, doing an inventory thinking that's going to fucking save you. But again, an inventory is just self-knowledge. And self-knowledge does what? Shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and again, even if you look at the self-knowledge aspect, what everyone learns in an inventory is that it's all the different symptoms of self that are creating wreckage in people's fucking lives, right? So if selfishness and self-centeredness is the root of my fucking problem, then a selfless practice is the root of my solution.
True.
So if you're passing on the book, you're already in solution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So why not start that on day one?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
So yeah, the fellowship fucking loves me, dude. When I say that shit.
The fellowship loves you.
Yeah, I like speak to you and people get all confronted and like you have these dudes. Because like granted, there are people who don't need to do that. There are people that can just, they're meeting makers, make it people who can just go to fucking meetings and be chilling. But then there's a lot of people, dude, who can't do that. And when like the main message of meetings is like you have to work all 12 steps before you can carry the message because you can't transmit what you haven't got, like that's killing so many people. That's why like the 9-month chip is so like scarce, because like how can you get to 9 months when you're essentially white knuckling it, you know, if you're not actually doing the work.
Right,
You know
right,
what I
right.
mean? So yeah.
I think well, there's a then there's a triangle, right? There's unity, recovery, and service.
I'm gonna break that shit down for you right now.
So, but I think a lot of people, are able to stay sober based on the unity aspect, which is the fellowship.
Yeah.
But then they don't get that long-term sobriety because they're not practicing the recovery or the service aspect.
Right. And where's the recovery at?
And the recovery, I mean, the recovery's in the book.
Totally.
You know, the recovery is in working with others, and that's the service right there.
Totally.
You know, but so that's why I think a lot of those times you don't see that 9-month chip happen.
For sure.
You
So
know?
if the triangle is like the, you know, symbolic expression of the program as a whole, right? So it's all three sides, right? If I'm sitting and reading the book with you and teaching you the book, we're in unity because we're two sober people. So we're treating the body. We're both reading the book, so we're treating the mind. And I'm teaching that shit to you, so I'm being of service.
Yeah.
And it's like a truly selfless practice.
Yeah.
Right? So if I'm missing a piece of that, I'm not doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
You know? So by telling people they have to work all 12 steps before they can do that shit, essentially what they're saying is like, yo, you can go to 7 meetings a week and treat your body. Maybe meet with your sponsor once a week and go through the book and treat your mind, which leaves 6 other days of insanity. And then you can't treat your spiritual malady, which is the anxiety, the depression, the fear, the anger, the jealousy, the feeling purposeless, the feeling useless, the feeling lost, like all those feelings until you've got like 6 months or a year. Like, no wonder people are fucked, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a wild thing that's happened, you know? So, yeah, I don't believe in like sponsor hierarchy. I don't believe in it. I just think that we're two people reading a fucking book, dude.
Yeah, just two people in a room reading the book.
Yeah.
You know? That's that's what they describe AA. That's how it's just two people just talking.
That's what a meeting is. Two people. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, all meetings came from that practice.
Yeah.
Like there was a time where like we couldn't just go to a room where alcoholics collected for us. And I think like because a lot of people, that's their only experience with AA, they think that's what it is.
Because it's so convenient.
Totally. And
it's so convenient. And especially out in LA, it's like people want to make friends first.
Totally.
But meetings are beautiful things, though.
No, I agree.
They can be. But have you ever been to a meeting and been like, ugh,
Yeah.
Oh, of course. 100%.
I leave meetings all the time.
It's so
But
rad.
I think it's beautiful when I travel and I go to a meeting in Paris, or I go to a meeting in London, or I
It's
go to a
sick.
meeting in Tokyo, and knowing that all that shit started in Akron, Ohio.
It's crazy.
You know?
Yeah,
And the
totally.
fact that it transcends international borders,
Yeah.
you know, is wonderful. And I see, you know, there's this place I go to called The Table in the Valley.
Oh yeah, I've been
And
there.
for the longest time, it's a specific AA meeting hall, but for the longest time, right next door, there was another specific AA meeting hall, but it was for Spanish speakers. And
Right.
it said Grupo de Alcoholics Anónimos,
Totally.
or whatever, however you say it in Spanish. But
Definitely Grupo though.
Grupo, yeah.
I remember the Grupo.
It was a
Yeah, yeah,
Grupo,
for sure.
okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
And I thought that was I thought it was amazing. Like, I thought it was really cool that they have, you know, this, now it's been translated into many other languages. So it could go across different cultures and, you know, ethnicities and all that stuff.
Totally.
And, but it all started with like two alcoholics talking to each other and figuring out how we could, you know, put this form of moral psychology into a 12-step form.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because this trust God, clean house, help others
Which I disagree with.
is not, that form of moral psychology has been around long since before it was put in the 12-step form.
Why do you
Totally.
disagree with that?
I think it's misordered.
Okay.
I think it's help others to trust God and trust God to clean house.
That's interesting. Like,
Because the thing is that like it says that we perfect and enlarge our spiritual life.
Yeah.
Means develop a relationship with God through work and self-sacrifice for others, right?
Yeah.
But then if you read like the 6th and 7th step, we're not fucking cleaning house. God's cleaning house, right? And really like looking at God as not like this anthropomorphic entity, but like as a principle to live by. So if you're living in the principle and the practice of selflessness and unconditional love, right? That's what's cleaning house.
Right.
And that kind of like takes it to a place. And this is what my problem was, right? So my behavior was trash. Like character defects were fucking rampant, you know? And I thought that writing another inventory was going to like give me some clarity. I was going to find some magical defect someday that was going to change me, you know? And that shit like didn't work at all, you know? And so, and I also saw defects and tried to change them myself. And sometimes I'd have wins and sometimes I've had losses. But then when I'm like comparing myself to like, oh, well, I've been sober 8 years. Why am I still fucking doing this shit when I know it's wrong? Or even having my head telling me, I'm going to like quote R. Kelly, you know, like, which I don't know if I can do today. But like, damn it. Like, you know, my mind's telling me no, but my body, right? It's like driving me in this fucking direction that I don't want to be in. And, you know, having that experience of like true powerlessness over my own character, you know, and that was like really frustrating for me. So when I just stopped trying to manage defects of character and really just focused on getting outside of self and seeing them sort of lift on a more broad stroke practice, right?
well, these defects of character, we spent our whole life using them to our advantage. And
There are things we
surviving.
love about ourselves.
For sure.
And surviving them. I watched this movie. Have you ever seen it? Liar, Liar with Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So that is a man who has the character defect of dishonesty, right? He is so he's built his whole life around being dishonest.
Yeah.
Whole entire life, character, everything is about being dishonest. One day he can't be dishonest, and he almost destroys his life.
Yeah.
Because he can't live without that character defect. He's
Right.
addicted to it. And, you know, the moral of the story is the fact that, you know, if you're honest, everything is good at the end of the day, which is, it turns out to be true. And he's able to, you know, rid that character defect. But it just goes to show that, like, we live with these character defects, whether it's dishonesty, lust, sloth, whatever, you know, selfishness. We live with them for our whole life, and now we have to get rid of them. It's going to take a lot longer than 8 years to get rid of.
For sure.
You know?
Especially without a practice that's like diligent and consistent in volume.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like it's rooted in self, right? And, you know, like the first thing is even the identification of self. Like we were fucked when we got our names. Like the fact that my name is different than yours is already a problem, right? But then also it's like this innate drive for just simple self-preservation. It's how we're living.
Yeah.
You know? So from that stems self-centered fear, self-pity,
Yeah, your instincts.
Yeah, which, then turns into all these like different ways to be able to survive that, turn to like maladaptive coping mechanisms and maladaptive belief systems. And then, we're this. So, I mean, granted, it probably took me 22 years of sobriety and probably 12 years of daily practice to be the person that was like honest in all my affairs, because it wasn't until I met my wife that I was actually honest to everybody, because I always compartmentalize honesty, where I might be honest with you or whatever, but my exes always lied. My wife is literally the first person I never cheated on, that I never had any desire to cheat. We communicate everything authentically to each other. And for me, that's like a fucking miracle, which also lets me like know that I believe that there is like a one,
Yeah.
All that shit that I was doing, granted, it was not great. Like, it just wasn't the right people. But because of defect and self-centered fear, I wouldn't get out of the relationships. I'd stay in them and then fuck them off.
Yeah.
So... yeah, it's been an interesting process, dude.
Yeah.
How long have you been married to your wife for?
We've been married for about a year, almost 2 years actually. And but she saw me when she was 20, which was like fucking funny. I was DJing some like sober event or something, and she was with her sponsor. She was like, "Who's that?" Her sponsor turned to her. She's like, "Oh, that's Michaelis. He's a sex addict. He'll fuck anything he sees." And like in her mind, she like, great, right? My rep was amazing. And in her mind, she's like, "Oh, I hope he sees me someday," And then like 6 years later, dude, she goes with her friend to Bali. I'm living in Bali and DJing over there, and her friend winds up hitting me up, and I wound up seeing her for the first time. And I was in a relationship at that time, but I mean, she was literally the most beautiful woman that I'd ever seen in my life. And I came back because I was also DJing for NASCAR in the States. I came back to America, and we spent some time together in that first time that we met. And then when I came back this time, I was just to come back for a month, because I was just going to like take care of stuff. I just wrote a book or whatever, and I wanted to set up some things. And I saw her again, and I was just like completely certain that she was the one for me. And I just stayed.
Yeah.
And here I am.
That's tight.
Yeah, it's fucking sick, dude. Yeah.
And you feel like there is the one out there, like
100%
for everybody,
Yeah, but the thing is like, I think that the selfless practice, it launches you into the present enough and gets you outside of self where you can recognize it when it's in front of you. Because a lot of people who are in relationships and they're not in a selfless practice, like they're really just in relationships with their own reflection of self. You don't even see the person in front of them, So I think that, that's kind of like a prerequisite. And then also when you're out of self, you're not in self-centered fear, and the self-centered fear is usually what gets in the way of like honest communication. Right. And so like the mixture of all those things allows you to recognize it and, weed out the things that are not it. And then, and not settle. A lot of people settle, dude.
Yeah.
I did that for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to settle,
But that's like, self-worth and
totally.
Like, this is as good as it's going to get, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's also people there. Have you ever heard this psychological term called the taxi cab effect?
I have not.
So it's basically people decide to settle down when they feel like it's like they've spent too much time dating other people.
Right.
And they're like, they're so tired of it. And they're so fatigued from dating other people that somebody falls into their life and they're like, all right, this is the person.
Right.
And they just like settle for them. It's not because they feel really connected to them. It's just they're kind of more tired of just dating around and dating other people.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of, people that, fall in love or get with their partner because of this taxi cab effect, where they're just like, I'm so tired of dating other people. I don't want to date anymore. I just want to be with one person and start building my life. It's also about being in the right, like feeling like you're at that right period of your time, in time to start like settling down and getting married and all this time.
For sure.
And all this stuff.
Yeah, but like time again is a human construct. It's not even fucking real. But think about like how much stuff we like judge ourselves on or, beat ourselves up over on this thing that doesn't even exist. But yeah, I mean, I think all of my relationships were that. And I think why I got in relationships where I was trying to manage the wreckage that I was causing dating. Because, I mean, I was just a fucking nightmare out there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
You were trying to hold yourself accountable to some standard.
Something
To, like, keep you from, like... You're putting a leash on yourself,
for
essentially.
sure. Well, and also, I don't know if you guys were brought up like this, but I had this belief system that there's something about being a mature man, you know what I mean? And being in a relationship. Like those were interconnected, you know? And if you're just out there like fucking everybody, you're
Immature.
a child,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So there's almost like this rite of passage where it's just like, be in a relationship.
If you're in a relationship, you seem to have it all together. You
Totally.
seem to be grown up,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's like, you definitely, there's a lot of people who, and I was like this for a long time where it's like, I didn't feel, I feel like I entered into adulthood in every other aspect of my life.
Right.
Yet I was still trying to hang on to my adolescence through romance.
Right.
By being able to fuck every girl I meet, or like, you know, not be tied down or not be in a relationship. And then like I would get into a relationship and the commitment, like being in a committed relationship and being like, okay, this is something I'm going to take seriously. This is somebody I'm going to view as like a life partner and work towards that, was really difficult for me to grasp because I didn't want to let go of that like adolescence mindset of I get to still be free and go hook up with a bunch of other girls.
Or maybe that just wasn't your person.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. It's like there was something about Kehlani where all that disappeared, you know? And I've been living like that for years, you know? And I got into a place where I didn't like really need the validation anymore. Like it wasn't really that. It was just like a need, you know? But when I met Kay, dude, it was just like all that drive or even desire for like anybody else or even, any kind of intrigue, all that just disappeared, you know? And I think another important piece was like we discussed really openly like the boundaries of what we were doing. And we went through the book together too, and we did inventory with each other. And so like we know each other in ways that, you know, most couples don't know each other, which I think is important.
Don't want to know
Right?
each other.
Yeah.
Totally.
Right?
I mean, they'll literally tell you in the rooms, like, don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep it separate. But it's just like, if you're in a relationship with someone and like that's your partner that you've chosen, like, why would you want to keep anything separate? You know, like you want to know each other, because most of the problems, like I said earlier in relationships, is just like communication stuff. So if the communication's not on point, what's the relationship?
Yeah.
You know?
My only fear is that, like, if something comes up, though, because things come up, and that maybe...
Like what?
Well, just anything, you know what I mean? Like, so my lady's pregnant, you know, and like...
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
sick, dude. We got the solo clap in the background, dog.
We're gonna ask you to jump in and talk about your relationship right now.
Oh yeah, no. So she's pregnant, and it's just like little things where I have to be overly like I have to watch out for a lot of stuff. Like she's very hormonal and like, all that kind of stuff, you know. And my fear is like because I do work in treatment, like I'm a facilitator, group facilitator. So it's like I'm keen to like looking at why people react and do things a certain way, you know? And if I know everything, right, because of the way that like I operate through work and stuff like that, it's like my worry is that like, well, you're doing this because of this. And who the fuck am I to say anything like that? You know, like I'm not her facilitator, you know what I mean? Like I'm her partner, and it's like, you know,
You're not her therapist.
I'm not right. So that would be my fear of like, and that could go both ways. She could do that to me, and I could do that to her, right? Where it's like taking each other's inventory. You know what I mean? Where, yes, I think the more you know about someone, the easier it will be to like navigate through life with that person. But also just that fear of like, you know, oh, I know why you're doing this because of X, Y, and Z, because of what you showed me. You know, and I think that just goes along with like, emotional maturity, like just holding your tongue and just knowing that but not saying anything, you know. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, we are all still human and like make mistakes, and it is what it is, you know. But that would be my fear of something like that.
Yeah, I understand that. So, and it's kind of like how it is. That's why working with people is giving me like so much practice, because I don't really come at it from that place. I mean, I used to, especially from Liberty House when I was like taking people's inventory.
Right.
But today for me, it's like more important to ask questions and get to know the person in front of me.
Right.
Like, why do you think that you're doing that? You know what I mean? That kind of stuff, which opens it up to a conversation, you know, where I'm really getting to hear like their perspective on things from a non-judgmental place. But yeah, I mean, what I'm talking about is like, well, first of all, we know everything about each other's like history and everything we've done, right? But then like, you know, sometimes in the beginning of our relationship, I'd have like insecurities. Like I'd be sitting in a AA meeting, you know, next to her, and some like good looking dude would walk in, and my first thought was like, I bet she wants to fuck that dude, you know? And I would just turn to her and be like, hey, Kay, I just want to let you know, like this thought came through my head. Like, I think that you want to have sex with that dude, you know? And, like to be able to be honest with somebody about these like little insecurities and just like have a conversation about that stuff and to be that transparent. The cool thing about that is that when she says that she loves me, or when I say that I love her, and we've been so honest and definitely told each other things that were hard for each other to hear, we know that we love each other. Like I believe her. She believes me, you know, because we've had all this groundwork laid out where it's just like we can talk about anything. Like, why would we lie to each other about loving each other? Why would I be lying when I say I think you're the most beautiful woman in the world if I've told you all the other weird shit that I've thought, you know? So, yeah, I think like approaching people, just like asking them questions is chill.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
So you wrote a book.
I did.
You wanna? What was your
Do I
book
wanna
about?
plug it?
Yeah, you wanna plug your butt?
Oh man,
We're getting wrapped up on time here.
Lame. We gotta wrap up.
Yeah, we're about time on that.
Yeah, so I wrote a book called The Spiritual Revolution.
Okay.
It's basically for non-alcoholics and non-addicts, or it can be for an alcoholic or an addict too. It basically treats the spiritual malady and mental obsession.
Okay.
And the whole process is passing it on to as many people as you can. It's a practice of getting outside of self, a practice of unconditional love. It's, you know, a great dating tool to figure out who your actual person that you're sitting across from is. It's great for relationships. And it was basically inspired by the fact that I know that I can't take people to the big book and charge for that.
Yeah.
And I also had a couple of friends of mine, a few of my friends kill themselves who were not alcoholics or addicts. And then like COVID hit, BLM, like all these things were happening where I was just seeing all this unrest in the world. And I was like, fuck, dude, this world's really fucked, you know, and I want to be able to contribute something to it. So I wrote a book for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
That's what happened.
That's nice. Where can we find that book?
You can find that book on Amazon, my friend.
Oh yeah. What's it called?
The Spiritual Revolution, A Precise Path to Personal Peace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice. How long did it take you to write a book? What's the process like of writing a book?
Bro, it's fucking weird because I've been in the practice for like, I don't know, 12 years. By the time I sat down and wrote it, it literally took me 10 days to get it out. It was really one of those weird things.
How many pages was it? Is it?
It's like 157 or something. 100. It's not that big.
Still,
Okay,
like,
it's a lot of pages still.
10 days
Yeah.
is like to
Bigger.
have that in your head.
The big book is 164. You're
Yeah.
7 pages off.
Yeah,
dude.
totally. Yeah, but it's just a different thing. It's more of a conversation piece, you know? It's not like something you can just read on your own and they're going to heal.
Okay.
But there's a lot of deep work that happens in there. And the cool thing is I've been able to build like a private practice through it.
Okay.
And like taking people through it and watching them work with others and watching them heal is fucking the sickest thing ever, dude.
Yeah.
And that's with non-alcoholic, non-addicts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And watching their
That's
whole
cool.
families heal. Because like usually a lot of the times the clients that I have, the first people they start reading with is their families.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, it's just I feel really blessed to like be able to offer that to
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Anybody.
Are you still DJing right now?
No, I kind of retired. Although I am doing. There's like this thing happening on May 31st in Palm Springs. Do you know Lauren Brock?
No.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah, they're doing like an event down there.
Okay.
Yeah, I came out of retirement just to do that, but I'm trying not to do that at all.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, it's just not my vibe anymore.
Okay, gotcha.
For sure.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I don't know what it's called.
The West
Who-
Coast.
Who's the guy that also moved to Bali to be a DJ? Roger? DJ
I know
Dodger.
Roger.
You know Roger?
Dude.
From Bali?
Roger?
I do.
You know who Roger is?
Yeah.
No.
He used to drive trucks for the studios.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what is it? DJ Dodger?
I am literally the reason that happened. Because he came and visited me. Or not me, but like he came out there and visited. And some people told him to like meet me. And he came and watched me play sometimes. And he just saw my life. And he was like,
I wanna
bro,
do
I want to
this."
do this. Yeah, totally. You got the best fucking life. And
That's
he-
tight, and he did it,
Yeah.
dude. He had a full career driving. He was in the union for the truck for the drivers.
For the drivers. That's a hard union to get into,
yeah,
too.
and he was like,
All the
"Fuck it, I'm
stuff.
gonna be a DJ."
Totally, and he
One
did,
day he was
you
just
know?
like, "I think I'm gonna get some DJ equipment." I was like, "Cool, man." And then like 6 months later, he was like, "I'm moving. I'm gonna
How
go be a
old
DJ."
is this guy?
Fucking like, I think about your age.
Yeah, I think he's
right?
close to my age.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Jesus. Did I know this guy from like the meetings?
Yeah, he would go to Moore Park all the time.
Roger.
Drove a M5.
Okay, maybe I know him.
I haven't seen him in a
don't know.
while. Well, not since I left Bali.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I see his posts on Instagram sometimes.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. Gotcha. Well, good for him, dude. It's never too late to just
Yeah.
change it. It's never too late to just change your
Totally.
life. Completely just change it.
Whatever you want to do.
Whatever
it's out
you
there.
want to do is completely out there.
And that's the thing, dude. If you have like a relationship with a power greater than yourself that you like have a living relationship with, you're like walking around this earth with a giant safety net underneath you, which you can. You can literally do whatever the fuck you want, you know? And really, it's just about like bringing the practice of like, how can I be the blessing to this moment, to whatever moment and whatever career, you
Yeah.
know, whatever decision you make.
Yeah.
100%.
That's all it is. It's super simple. You
Yeah.
know? So
100%. Well, thank you so much for coming on,
Thanks for
Michaelis.
having
I
me,
appreciate
guys.
it. And this
Yeah.
was a fantastic conversation.
Oh, thanks, dude.
This is really like change the perspective and just get a different perspective on recovery.
Cool.
You said a lot of beautiful things.
thanks,
And
guys.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank
Yeah.
you, man.
Thanks, dude.
Of course.
Thanks.
Just like hitting mics. I like air high five.
And
There we go.
high
Yeah,
five.
we got it.
All right,
All right,
well,
cool.
that's it.
Sick.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
All right.